I invite you to rise in body or spirit and turn in the gray hymnal to number 209, O Come, You Longing, Thirsty Souls, number 209.
Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Whether you're here with us in person in our sanctuary right at this moment, or live streaming from home right now, or watching on demand at a later time, we are delighted that you've chosen to be together with one another in community. Our congregation has been meeting continuously since 1865, right here physically in Ann Arbor, bringing alive a vision of what it can mean to be a progressive people, devoted to supporting the individual search for truth and meaning, our own discovery of what it means to be a human being, that evolving understanding throughout our lives as we are companioned and supported by others in community through the good times in our lives, the joys and the celebrations, as well as the tough times, the struggles and the sorrows. I am the Reverend Manish, Mishra-Marzetti, serving our community as senior minister, and what a joy it is to be gathering on this particular Sunday, this Sunday that represents the start of our congregational year. It mirrors the academic year, and it's a time for us to ingather, to come back together in the spirit of what we refer to as a water communion service. If you are brand new to us and you've never heard of a thing called a water communion service, don't worry, we'll explain it to you. For those who are ongoing members or longtime folk, if you forgot to bring a container of water with you, no worries about that either. There'll be opportunity for anyone who wishes to participate to participate. As we gather this morning, and it is the start of a new congregational year, I have a handful of community announcements, PSAs, if you will, important pieces of info that all of us might benefit from. One of them I want to share is about just the beginning, our welcoming and greetings that we're offering today. Typically, I've shared the long list of all the folks participating in the service as part of our welcome. We're going to try something a little bit different today in the spirit of experimentation. Now, what we began to understand or reflect on together as your planning team is that you hear names, but that doesn't really help you understand who's who. By the time we get to the time for all ages, you've heard the name of Stella Anderson, but you may not know that Stella Anderson's the individual helping lead that element. And who is Stella? So we're going to offer visual cues today. You'll see a name pop up on your screens, just like that. And you'll have a brief little visual cue about who's leading a particular element. Let us, as your service leaders, know how this flow feels to you. We always welcome your feedback and input. And if you're joining us electronically or online, you can email us at worshipteam@uuaa.org. If you're a newcomer to our community, a warm welcome to you. You've chosen a great Sunday to be with us. You're joining us at the start of a brand new year. Congratulations on that choice, and we look forward to getting to know you better. If you're here with us in person, we invite you at the conclusion of today's service, as you exit those double doors, there'll be a first set of doors to the left. That room is called the Redmond Room. There will be members of our community who will be available to answer your questions about Unitarian Universalism writ large in general, as well as our congregation more specifically. If you're live streaming right now, we invite you to take a moment, if you're newer, to introduce yourself into the chat. You can offer your name and where you're joining us from. I know that there'll be members of our community who will be eager to warmly greet you and welcome you. If you're watching later in this week on demand, please know that you can reach out to any member of our staff team, up to and including myself. We'd be happy to answer whatever questions you have about Unitarian Universalism or our congregation. In addition, if you go to uuaa.org/newcomers survey, there's a brief survey there that if you complete it, it'll help us stay in touch with you in the days ahead. Next Sunday, September 17th, we are doing something special. We have not done one of these in a while. It's a visitor celebration Sunday. It's also the start of our new SGD program year, Spiritual Growth and Development Program year for children and teens. Now, Visitor Celebration Sunday, I want to offer, for all of us who are ongoing or longtime members and friends of our community, I want to offer a hint. And the hint is that the most effective, well-established way of bringing new people into a congregational community is personal invitation to folks that you know. And in particular, over the course of the pandemic, there are folks that we've known and we might miss. We haven't seen them in a while. Now, you have access to those member directories through Realm, most of us do, and if you don't, you need help with that, let us know, we'll help you with that. You can reach out and call somebody or email somebody you haven't seen in a while, invite them personally to join you and sit with you next Sunday on the 17th. Hey, invite them out to lunch afterwards, make a morning of it. And that goes not just for folks you haven't seen in a while, you can also reach out to neighbors and friends who you've been thinking for a while, this would be great, they'd really love this. Next Sunday, invite them. We're going to orient the service towards helping greet and welcome folks who may be brand new to us or returning to us. Later today, after the conclusion of the service, and then also on Sunday the 17th, after our services, we are going to be in the Jackson Chapel, which is the second door on the right as we exit these double doors. We'll be filming, Mike Halerz and members of our tech team will be filming brief testimonials in support of our annual stewardship drive, our annual fundraising campaign. There's a very brief prompt. I'm going to synopsize it or give you a shorter version of it. How has UU Ann Arbor impacted you personally and or the wider world? It's a brief prompt, and if you can share just a few sentences about the impact Unitarian Universalism and or our community has made on you or the wider world, it would be deeply appreciated. They'll be filming in the Jackson Chapel following the conclusion of the service. Now, I invite you, join me in a few slow, deep breaths, if you would. Find a place of centering and grounding in your hearts. And as we move more deeply into our time together this morning, you may wish to hold the imagery, the energy of water in all its various forms close in your heart. We are gathered for worship.
In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, we begin many gatherings by lighting a chalice. We do this for music rehearsals, for worship planning and staff meetings, for board and committee meetings, and at the start of classes. It's a reminder that we all carry with us something that guides us, whatever that might be for you. Light, love, the divine, a creative spark, the spirit of life. It's a reminder that when we gather, we bring our best selves to the moment. And as we prepare to share this very simple ritual, kindling a flame, let's begin our time by bringing our best selves to this space right now and every day after, as we embark on a new, challenging, and exciting church year. Today, I invite Olivia Bassett-Kennedy and Carol Kennedy, two of our Chalice Singers, to come up to the chalice and help us light the chalice. If you are watching at home and have a chalice or candle nearby, I invite you to light yours along with us. And if you wish, let us know in the chat where the chalice is lit. If you would, please join me in speaking with a great deal of intention these words with me. We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you. Unitarian Universalism is a covenantal faith, not one based on a common creed that all are required to believe. We share the words of our covenant each time we gather for worship. The idea is deeply embedded in our identity as Unitarian Universalists, and many groups that meet have covenants they create together. As members of the Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association, Reverend Manish and I are bound to a covenant that guides ministerial conduct. It's a simple yet powerful way ministers agree to be together, to be in relationship with each other and their communities. And when we fall short, we are invited to begin again in love. So with that in mind, let us speak together the words that express how this congregation aspires to be together. Please say with me, the spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
This Sunday I have the bittersweet task, and really we all have the bittersweet task of both honoring and bidding well to a longtime staff member who is moving on, who's retiring from that position. Hannah Hotchkiss has served for over 15 years as our community's coordinator of welcoming ministries and membership. And Hannah, you have led this work for over a decade and a half with such a good and deep heart, such caring and warmth of presence, helping greet all of those brand new folk who nervously and eagerly come through our doors for the very first time, unsure what to expect or what they're going to encounter, answering all those same questions over and over again, over 15 plus years of what is Unitarian Universalism about? No, really, what's it about? And how does it work? And how does everything happen here? And is there a place for me here? And you have helped countless numbers of people and families find their way to Unitarian Universalism and find a home here at UU Ann Arbor. For that, words are insufficient. That's life-changing work that you have helped personally lead, over such an important length of time. Many of us know the power of that, don't we? Of that warmth of the welcome and how much it matters in encouraging you to come back again and keep trying to find your place, how this can impact you, how community can change your life. We have a few small tokens of appreciation, gifts for you, Hannah. I have Reverend Theresa and Stella are going to help me with these. We have a flame sculpture which we hope will find a place of honor in your home and remind you how deeply and well you held the flame of our faith over all these years, how dearly you tended to it, helping bring alive the flame of love and wisdom for community and for others. We have a ginormous card with room enough for anyone who'd like to sign it on the front, back, inside, anywhere. And it'll be in the social hall afterwards. We invite you to use a permanent marker and help sign the card in the social hall afterwards. And we have a generous financial gift on behalf of the congregation in the form of a gift card that we'll also be giving you. All of these as small tokens of appreciation. In addition, the whole community is invited in our social hall today. There's cake to help celebrate Hannah. And of course, Hannah wants to cut it and offer it to each of us, to you, in her final act of service to our community. And as she does that, we invite you to please share a word of gratitude and appreciation back with Hannah of what her work, what her ministry with our community has meant to you. Now, a reminder, there is no filling Hannah's shoes. I mean, that's not possible to fill, right? I mean, it's not even possible. And the reality is that it will likely be some weeks, maybe even some months of needing to fill in important critical needs as we navigate some duration of a staffing gap. So I extend an open invitation. If you have any interest in helping organize, help make happen our social hour, our welcoming and greeting work, for our newcomers and visitors, the work of ushering and welcoming folks as they come into the sanctuary, even temporarily, now is the time and that help is needed. Please write to me personally, or you can write to our administrator, Deb Markham. We will help plug you in. The need is there, I promise you. So even if it's just a week or two, whatever you can manage, let us know that help is needed and appreciated. For now, I want to invite us all. Would you rise as you're comfortably able in body or spirit? Let's offer Hannah a round of appreciation. Hannah, this was your spiritual home for years before you were ever on staff, and it remains such. We will always remain connected to you and you to us. This remains your spiritual home. Thank you for all that you have done here to make UUAA such a special place.
I'm not quite sure how I'm supposed to follow that, but I'll try. We cannot live without water, and we cannot thrive without love, care, and connection. It's that flow, that mutuality and interdependence that is our greatest strength. Our story for all ages on this Water Communion Sunday teaches us that if you can't bring your great-grandmother to the sea, well, you bring the sea to your great-grandmother. A Drop of the Sea, written by Ingrid Chabbert, illustrated by Raul Nieto Guridi. Ali lives at the edge of the desert, not far from a 100-year-old palm tree. He likes climbing to it to snack on fresh dates. He never forgets to pick a few for his great-grandmother, too. At night, on the roof of their tiny clay house, they wonder at the infinity of the starry sky. Just her and him, just him and her. They don't need anything more to be happy. But Ali has grown worried the last few weeks. In her old age, his great-grandmother is finding it harder to walk. He has noticed she is breathless and wincing at every step. Settled on her stool, her gaze lost on the horizon, she looks like she's 1,000 years old. And Ali knows people can't grow that old. Only the desert and palm trees can. At her side, he asks softly, "Great-grandma, have all of your dreams come true?" Surprised, she looks at him and sighs. "You don't want to answer?" "I do, my dear Ali. I was thinking." "So tell me then, the truth." "I think all of my little girl and grown-up dreams have come true, except my dream to see the sea. I could have. It isn't so far, 2 days' walk at the most. But I always put it off to another time, and now my poor legs can't carry me there." Ali sighs in turn and sits quietly as the night gathers around them. The next day at first light, a determined Ali declares, "Great-grandmother, I am going to seek the sea for you." A breathless laugh escapes the old woman's lips. "Come now, Ali, you are too young. It's a long way." "My mind is made up. I'm going. If all goes well, I'll be back in 4 days." With a pail in hand and a pack full of dates and water, Ali sets off without looking back. He wouldn't want to see his great-grandmother's tears wet the dry dirt, or for her to see his, maybe. She is right. Ali will need a bit less than 2 days to reach his destination. He walks as quickly as his little legs will go. He spends a near frightening night under an unfamiliar palm tree. Then Ali sees it. There, in front of him, the sea. Serenely calm, it licks at his aching toes. In that moment, he would love to be holding his great-grandmother's hand and watching her eyes dive into the blue of the sea. He sits a while, contemplating it. But not for too long. One doesn't keep great-grandmothers waiting. He begins to fill his pail as carefully as if he were handling crystal. And it's with pail in hand, heavy at the end of his arm, pack in tow, that Ali sets off again without looking back. He doesn't want to see the sea stealing after him on the sand. The walk home will take him a bit more than 2 days. He imagines his great-grandmother on her stool, squinting to see the tiny dot he must be on the horizon. And at last, he is running into her arms. He has missed her scent. Gently pulling away, he offers her the pail. At the very bottom, only a few drops of the sea remain. The long walk and heat got the better of the treasure. The old woman rolls one of the drops between her fingers and starts to cry. "Oh, Ali, this is is one of the most beautiful days of my life. The boy's heart soars. That night, on the roof of their tiny clay house, Ali tells his great-grandmother about the sea, again and again. The end. Ali brings his great-grandmother a drop of the sea. But of course, the water in that bucket is much more than water. It represents his unconditional love and care for her, and his gratitude for the unconditional love and care she offers him. Every Sunday, we have the opportunity to renew our commitments and reconnect with one another. Much like all the tributaries of a delta meander apart and then merge together, so do all of us enter this space as individuals, only to transform into a community. Each one of us brings unique gifts that make our collective stronger, more hopeful, and more resilient. Each one of us has something to offer, whether it be time, talent, energy, connections, and money. There are many ways to give. And as the ushers pass through the rows, you are invited to drop cash or checks in the collection baskets. For those that prefer a digital option, you can text UUAA to 73256, or you can go to uuaa.org/giving. However you choose to give, thank you for your generosity. As the baskets flow through the river of rose in our sanctuary, I invite you to sit back and allow the anthem to wash over you. Take Me to the Water, a gospel arrangement of two spirituals sung by enslaved people, offers us powerful testimony on resilience and hope. Today's offering will now be gratefully given and received.
Take me
Will the ushers please come forward with the baskets? And as they do, I invite you to rise in body or spirit wherever you may be, and say with me the words of dedication. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you.
What a joy it is to be here with you all as we celebrate our ingathering with our annual water communion ritual. It is a remarkable thing to begin a church year as a community, a beautifully diverse and vibrant community. It is a remarkable thing to begin a church year surrounded by such incredible music. Bells welcoming, calling us to gather at the river. Voices inviting us to the water, to free our spirits, to a place we can lay down our burdens. And it is a remarkable ritual we do to start our new year, our water communion. Communion may bring to mind the specific Christian ritual of sharing bread and wine in remembrance of Christ's body and blood. But outside of that very particular religious meaning, communion is simply participation in something which is common to all, drawing from its Latin roots meaning fellowship, mutual participation, a sharing. And that is the kind of communion we are talking about, a Unitarian Universalist communion in which the common shared element is water, a powerful element we know is essential for life. You will, in a moment, have the opportunity to come forward and pour water you have brought with you, perhaps from a place that holds deep meaning for you, perhaps from your travels over the summer, perhaps from your kitchen sink. And as you do, you may share with one of us where the water is from, or its significance to you, if you so wish. This might be your very first time visiting us, and you didn't even know we did this. Or you may have left your container on the counter, or never had one to begin with. No matter, everyone is most welcome to come forward and pour from the pitchers that water that has been provided. Now, if you are watching on live stream right now, please have your offering of water nearby for the blessing later. We welcome you to put in the chat where the water that you bring is from. And if you would like to have your water mingle with the rest, you can drop a small container of it off at the church, and I'll make sure it gets added. Now, in a moment, I'll invite you to come forward. If those kind of on this half come forward to this table, and those on this side come over to this table, do this at your own pace. Just kind of watch as the line gets smaller, you can join in. There is no rush, so take your time. There are also some smaller pitchers on this side that might be a little easier to manage if you're smaller. And if mobility is at all a concern for you, wave to us, let me know, and I will bring a bowl to you so you can add water to that. So we begin, though, by adding to the bowls water that has been saved and purified from previous years of water communions. And this is perhaps my favorite part of the ritual, knowing that what we add today becomes mingled with our past and will exist into the future. Each time we dedicate a child or bury ashes or bless a home, we use this water, a very tangible reminder that we are truly part of an interdependent web of life. If Stella and Dusty, if you would pour the water into the larger bowls, and then we will begin our water communion. Thank you all. Dear ones, we have begun the new church year with this ritual of water communion. Each bowl now holds some of the water that has been collected in past rituals along with water offered today. Each year that we participate in this ritual, we are connecting in ever deeper ways to this community. We are finding our way despite the challenges that confront us. We are swimming in a completely new river as we begin the church year together. The waters are both treacherous and calm, but the yearning to keep connected is real and necessary, and our connections with each other keep us afloat. Wherever you are at this moment, may you feel a sense of connection to something greater than yourself as we bless the water, acknowledging its power and our reliance on it for our very lives, acknowledging there still remain inequities in access to something so basic. May this water remind us of our place in the larger ecosystem of this planet, our blue boat home. So let's hold a handful of breaths together, ready ourselves to receive the gift of music from the choir in the anthem, "Where Go the Boats?" Listen quietly. Does the music feel like a gentle river carrying the boats away? Can you imagine who might bring the boats ashore and care for them so far away from where they started?
Thank you, Chalice Singers, and also Chalice Bells. What a joy it is to have such beautiful music with us this morning. Away down the river, 100 miles or more, other little children shall bring my boats ashore. Our life journeys are spiritual journeys, fundamentally connected to others, just as the life-giving nature of water connects us to one another and truly to all life on our planet. There's a sweetness and a preciousness to that we saw brought alive in the Time for All Ages, our children's story, the yearning of a great-grandmother to see or be present to an ocean, a sea that she had never gotten to visit, and a grandchild traveling there for her, trying to bring it back, but only managing to bring back drops. We're reminded of the beautiful and gentle ways that water can manifest. A light rain, or as thirst-quenching, life-giving drink. But water can also show up, as we know, as an ice storm, or as torrential rain, or as devastating floods. Both potentials exist within the very thing that we need in order to survive. It reminds me of how the ecofeminist writer Starhawk approaches the concept of water. She refers to it as a sacrament, as something that can be experienced as so holy, as so precious and fundamental to the nature of life, that it has a sacredness to it. And yet this thing that is the progenitor of all life as we know it, it can also cause harm, it can also destroy, it can also take life away. Just as drops reflect the whole river, the whole sea, the whole ocean, the very nature of condensation and precipitation itself, so can the whole reflect, it can mirror the drop. Hold on to that for just a little while. We're going to return to that. There's something inherent and important to that relationship between the part and the whole, the thing that is small and the thing that's larger. Just this past week, a book came to me by way of recommendation. And there are times on a Sunday morning where I will recommend that you go out and find a particular book, and take a look at it. This is not one of those necessarily. It's called The Great Dechurching by Jim Davis and Michael Graham. It's brand new. It's only been out a couple of weeks. It's published by Zondervan Press. Now, those who are in the field of religion know Zondervan Press. It's based actually in Michigan. It's an evangelical publishing house, highly, highly conservative. And yet, I'm quite familiar with their books, and I've read many of them. Many of their books are quite useful. They're quite good. So when this recommendation came to me to read The Great Dechurching, I followed up on it. I took it up. And as true to form, it's written by evangelical authors who are doing quite a bit of hand-wringing in the framing of the book and its concept. There's a lot of hand-wringing and a lot of angst around the fact that evangelical churches are losing members. Now, we're Unitarian Universalists, so like me, you can imagine the internal monologue that might ensue in response to that reality, something along the lines of, okay, so the evangelical churches, some of our most conservative churches in the United States who don't particularly like gay folk like me, aren't welcoming of trans-identified folk, are fundamentally against reproductive rights for women. These churches are losing members? What a shame. By the way, I wonder if they share their mailing lists? I've got postcards, brochures. We've got a good word to share, don't we? I've got some material I can forward on. But keep in mind that these are the communities that spent the 1970s, the 1980s, the 1990s, decade after decade after decade, doing nothing but gaining members and expanding their cultural influence in the United States, and through that cultural influence, their impact on the political and civic life of the United States. These communities that have never before known decline, are now for the first time experiencing decline, and it's a really big deal for them. It's a really big deal for them. So hence the angst of what's going on? Why are we suddenly, after decades and decades of momentous growth in our influence, now we're losing members? And they take a look. Now, their analytics are usually very sharp. Evangelicals are methodical in their research. And so they frame this in light of the cultural landscape, the religious landscape of the United States. They want to understand what's happening in their communities in light of what's happening in the religious landscape of the United States writ large. This is fascinating. Now, I knew some of this. I didn't know the extent of this. They look at 30 years of data from 1990 to 2020. Imagine this. The United Methodist Church in that 30-year span, permanent loss of membership of 31%. The Evangelical Lutheran Church, same time, permanent loss of membership of 41%. The United Church of Christ, now these are our liberal cousins, proudly so. We love the United Church of Christ. They are our partners in progressive justice work throughout the continent. The United Church of Christ lost 52% of its members. Can you imagine that you're a longtime member of that denomination, of that faith community, 20, 30, 40, maybe you grew up in that denomination, half the people that used to be there are no longer there. They're just not there. What might that mean? What might that feel like to be living with that reality? And that's not the worst. The Presbyterian Church of the USA, nearly a 60% loss in membership. 58%. Now, in comparison, in that same time period of study, Unitarian Universalism held steady, which was considered a phenomenal success, by the way. We weren't gaining members nationally or continentally, but we also weren't losing members, certainly not like the numbers I've just described to you up until the past 3 years. The pandemic. The pandemic changed that, and Unitarian Universalism is now experiencing these broader cultural trends in the life of religion, but still not to the degree of these other Protestant churches or the evangelical churches. We are still doing relatively okay in comparison. Now, so these evangelical authors, they want to understand why, what is happening particularly with their communities, their evangelical communities. And what they find is that there are particular dynamics in their congregations that are driving people away. These are people who would otherwise want to be in these communities, but they're being driven away by particular and very specific dynamics. Those dynamics include uncompromising political positions within the community, the inability to find common ground across difference, and bickering and blaming one another rather than finding common cause for joint action in the world. Does any of this sound familiar, by the way? So if you thought I was referring to evangelical research as a way to help us Unitarian Universalists feel more superior or exceptional, guess again. What they're describing is not an evangelical problem. And this is why their research is in the context of religious life in the US. They didn't look at UU communities, they looked at other Protestant communities. This is a widespread problem, and I can tell you from decades of leadership in Unitarian Universalism, this is also our problem. So their analysis of this, these dynamics, is that all of it points to an underdevelopment of relational skills within congregational life. This is fascinating. It's not that there's a deficit of intellectual rigor. No, it's not that. It's not that there's a lack of faithfulness or in certain set of beliefs or a credo or even principles. No, none of that is the problem. It's not beliefs. It's not intellectual rigor. It's relational skills. A lack of relational skills is driving people away from community. That's profound. That's really profound. Think about the act that we just participated in together. The choice, the free choice, to use the very element that represents the essence of life itself, the building blocks of all life as we know it, freely offered by your hands, the hands of each of us here, the drops blending into a bowl, something larger than any one of us ourselves. We choose community over and over and over again because we know we need it to survive, and not just survive, to thrive. And yet here, we've got our evangelical siblings pointing out that most of us don't know how to do community that well. Maybe we're lacking the relational skillfulness to live in to the vision of what that choice means. They offer a prescription for this, what to do. And I love the framing, actually. Their framing of what is needed is beautiful. They call it relational wisdom, the thing that is needed in response to people being driven away from the thing that they know they want and need in their life because of ugly dynamics. The thing that is needed is relational wisdom. And they describe it in about five or six little concrete bits. I'll share them briefly with you. What encompasses relational wisdom? First off, self-awareness, which requires strong listening skills, good communication skills, of which, in the absence of which, they note, quote, "We become like pushy used car salesmen desperate to make a deal." I've never encountered another human being like that. Certainly not in community. No. You have to be self-aware to have an idea of how you're coming across. In addition to self-awareness, other awareness, which requires the ability to accurately see others in their lived context. So not our perceptions or assumptions about them, but what is the actual lived context of another human being? What does that context mean to them? That other awareness is so critical. We actually are not able to have an effective conversation of any kind with another human being until we are willing to take the time to learn what their lived context is. Accept it, understand it, work with it, try to speak with that awareness, that other awareness. It takes emotional awareness, which means noticing our own unspoken emotional cues. What's coming up for me as I try to be in relationship with other people? And can we also hold that awareness that things are coming up for the other person as well? How do we allow room for that lived emotional reality of the things that bubble up and percolate for me or for you as we strive to be in community? An awareness of how others perceive us. Oh, this one's interesting. Do we even care how others perceive us? We might want to. Because if we took a moment or two to try and understand, hey, when I speak or when I write something or maybe I'm coming across in ways that are counterproductive, that aren't actually furthering conversation. How are others actually receiving me and understanding me? Is it furthering relationship? Is it furthering community? Is it furthering the good work I'm trying to do? That requires an awareness of how others perceive us and actually caring about that to some degree, to a healthy degree. And this one is fascinating. From evangelical authors, cultural awareness. Now, what they say about this, that cultural sensitivity, that cultural awareness, it requires deprioritizing one's own cultural experience, one's own cultural reference points, and one's own cultural preferences for the sake of making room for others who may be different than us. Now, these authors are prescribing this for their denomination, which doesn't do very good on these things, right? And it's universal. It's not simply about one specific denomination. Now, they say if we do these things, self-awareness, other awareness, emotional awareness, awareness of how others perceive us, cultural awareness, hold all of those things together, they say, with quietude, with calmness, with groundedness. And from that place of centering and greater stillness, not the pushiness, get curious. Because ultimately, that's how we learn more about other people that we're trying to be in relationship with. Now, all of these commitments are commitments that we Unitarian Universalists are striving to live into. And we recognize that if in our broader world, our broader society or culture, we see a lack of empathy and caring and mutual regard, the response that will make things better is not indignation, resentment, and frustration, but rather living into and embodying the very qualities that we know the world needs more of. Return now to what I shared earlier. The drop reflects the whole, and the whole reflects the drop. A single drop, any one of us can begin to change the body of the whole, the very fabric of community and society, and it does, in fact, take each and every one of us. May we be each other's ship's companions in living into that commitment each and every day, for it is living into that kind of relational wisdom is what we Unitarian Universalists are called to do.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit and turn in the teal hymnal to number 1064, Blue Boat Home, number 1064. Oh, below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been saved.
beloveds, take just a moment, look around this sanctuary at these ship's companions of yours, those who have chosen to be on this human journey of learning and growing around what it means to live in the times in which we live. Those of you online, you are a precious part of this community, held in our embrace as well. Thank you for being a part of this beloved community. Go forth into this new week knowing that you are supported in living into all of that relational wisdom that we Unitarian Universalists know our world needs in order to survive and thrive. You are held in the embrace and love of this community until we are together again. Go in love, go in peace.